How's it going? It's Matt tomorrow here. I want to thank everybody for coming through on such short notice. This guy decided that he wanted to do a press conference today, so we're going to cover it. It starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time. However, there are some articles that we want to cover that's privy before he actually starts talking here. Got my panelist Mike B. We're gonna have other people coming up. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, peace, MOT.
All right. What I'm gonna start off first is with this comments before boarding the plane going to Texas. We're gonna give both our response to that, and then we're gonna go through the articles. And hopefully, once we have our comments along with the articles, he would better start talking about that. All right.
Texas is under the southern border. As you know, we've completed the wall. They may want to expand it. We have the expansion underway. Texas is under the southern border. Successful. We completed the wall. They may want to expand it. We have the expansion. Texas is under the southern border. They may want to expand it. We have the expansion. Now, because people are coming up. Because they think there's going to be a lot in it for them if they're able to get through, but we're able to stop it. The wall has made a tremendous difference. I think some of you are coming with me, but the wall has made a tremendous difference on the southern border. As far as this is concerned, we want no violence, never violence. We want absolutely no violence. And on the impeachment, it's really a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in the history of politics. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This impeachment is causing tremendous anger, and you're doing it, and it's really a terrible thing that they're doing. For Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to continue on this path, I think it's causing tremendous danger to our country, and it's causing tremendous anger. I want no violence. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. They're dividing and divisive, and they're showing something that I've been predicting for a long time. I've been predicting it for a long time, and people didn't act on it. But I think big tech has made a terrible mistake and very, very bad for our country. And that's leading others to do the same thing. And it causes a lot of problems and a lot of danger. Big mistake. They shouldn't be doing it. But there's always a counter move when they do that. I've never seen such anger as I see right now, and that's a terrible thing. Terrible thing. And you have to always avoid violence. And we have tremendous support. We have support probably like nobody's ever seen before. Always have to avoid violence.
What is your role in what happened at the Capitol? What is your personal responsibility?
So if you read my speech, and many people have done it, and I've seen it both in the papers and in the media, on television, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate. And if you look at what other people have said, politicians at a high level, about the riots during the summer, the horrible riots in Portland and Seattle and various other places, that was a real problem, what they said. But they've analyzed my speech and my words and my final paragraph, my final sentence, and everybody to the T thought it was totally appropriate. Okay, thank you.
All right, so that's what his comments were this morning. Mike, any response to that?
Yeah, it's plausible deniability. He's just playing for it right now. He knows that there's the axe coming for his head, and so he's just trying to delay it by filibustering and saying, we don't want violence, but that's exactly what was being promoted at the first speech on the 6th, and behind the scenes when beyond the cameras, when he had the boxing gloves on and was urging these guys to go out there and fight. Not just him, but Donald Jr. as well as Kimberly Guilford, who said to go out there and fight as well on I think it was IG or on some form of social media that they were on. And so they're playing, good cop, bad cop in this scenario.
Yeah, and what he tried to do, he tried to pull the whataboutism and start talking about Portland and Seattle and all these other things and how closely they relate to what he was doing there and how these things were nowhere near the same. I'm like, how on earth could you possibly walk through and say something like that? And man, it's just wild, man. It just shows you how crazy things have, gotten to the point to where we can't even deal with objective reality properly without there being some type of issue with it.
Well, there's a correlation here, right? When it came to BLM and other leftist peaceful demonstrations, he immediately sent federal troops in to protect federal property that was not even being targeted, right? The peaceful protests that were in the street where people were marching with placards, they were met with military police that the Trump administration had sent in, and they also used a CBP drone, a U.S. Customs and Border Protection drone, to monitor them. Despite the fact that they had not done anything wrong, they were actually, they were permitted to actually have these protests. Whereas when it came to Capitol Hill, there was no Predator drones, to my knowledge, that were actually sent out. In fact, there were 6 calls from the mayor to actually invoke a response team, and they were denied all 6 times. And so this is, the sort of double talk that is going on in these situations where the National Guard is necessary for Black and brown protesters, but riots on Capitol Hill, no, deny any sort of response there and any sort of accountability on that behalf.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird to just keep trying to make it look like these things are just not that bad, or that he's not responsible, or that other people looked at the articles of what he said and what he done. But I'm like, dude, you're being impeached for a very specific thing. There's a very specific outcome. there was very specific rallies that very specific people are actually were a part of before, to include the wife of Clarence Thomas, hyping it up. Everybody hyping it up that these people coming there because they broke the rule, man. The rule was to be a show of force, not to actually use force, because they love threatening people, especially the conservative side. Nancy Pelosi probably has like death threats every day. Never go be investigated or anything else. They just let these people act out however they want to. And there has been no consequences for them for as long as they've been alive and as long as their parents have been alive. And even their grandparents have been alive. So it's kind of hard to try to bring these people down a notch when you have their own news media that talk to them in a very personal way and keep these highly emotional, politically illiterate people constantly gaslit.
I mean,
obviously this don't involve all Republicans, but for this small swath of people who actually showed up, is definitely part of their group.
I mean, he made so many incendiary statements just in 2020 alone. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. This is the president saying this, despite the fact that there was no looting at the time of these peaceful protests on the left. And so the position of somehow we need to protect property only mattered when it came to peaceful protests on the left, but when it came to government property on Capitol Hill, that conversation suddenly dissipated.
Yeah.
Law and order.
Actually, straight shooter, I think it's going to be a hell of a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I think the Republican Party could go the way of the Whigs, of the Whig Party. Just completely dissolve because at this point, it's so poisoned and it serves absolutely no purpose at this point. I mean, you're not seeing anything come out of the right from a Republican standpoint that actually progresses the constituency forward. It doesn't do anything. It kind of just exists for a for the purpose of stroking the ego of the culture warrior. They don't really provide anything. If you look at any Republican state that doesn't have a blue water port, they're actually hurting. Whereas the blue states that have, whether they have access to blue water ports or not, they seem to do fundamentally better economically than their red state counterparts. And so you have to ask yourself, what value does the party really serve? What is the purpose of the party at this point? Because if the only response is to use government overreach from a law enforcement standpoint, it kind of contradicts the perspective that we like small government. So small that, we ran them out of Capitol Hill. That's how small we want the government to be empty as Capitol Hill was for the couple hours that they were there. And so the party is just absent of any sort of objective, no sort of mission statement at this point. I mean, the country is kind of running, autonomously with no sort of leadership because no one really knows what the next move is going to be. There's no real agenda on the table. It doesn't serve any value to its constituency other than to stroke their ego of the conspiracy theorists and the culture warrior.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look back at where these states rate from education to all types of outcomes, you can't really walk up to a Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh and ask them to explain their $20 million a year in actual syndication broadcast revenue that they receive personally in their pocket versus the actual stats and the outcomes that they have within their actual environment. No one has never even tried even answering those types of questions or even asking them for that matter.
Yeah, there's not even a jobs program on the table, right?
No.
Most of your red states that did back Trump all have employment issues, economic issues prior to COVID even happening. COVID just accelerated, made it worse. But deindustrialization happened in all of these flyover states, Ohio and Indiana and uh, Arkansas and these other places, Mississippi more often than not, one of the worst states in the South, actually operates like a third world country. You don't see any sort of response. I mean, there was an interview that we covered a couple months ago on your channel. You had these people on the ground who, in Mississippi, I'm referring to, who were saying that Trump has not even visited the state in his tenure. Not even visited the state. These people were hurting. And so, the places that need the help the most, Trump has completely ignored them, or at least the administration has completely ignored them. They could have used $1 billion in relief, and they didn't receive anything, to my knowledge. $1 billion might not go very far in places like New York and California, but $1 billion in Mississippi and Arkansas, that's a seismic shift in the economy itself.
Even $1 billion itself. Mississippi were to receive $1 billion per year in actual help, dude. You wouldn't need 5 or 6 of those billions to actually build the actual things that is actually needed to actually get the state back on track very quickly.
Yeah, you're talking mass transit, you're talking fixing of infrastructure, you're talking, fiber optic communication cables in the ground, just a lot of basic modern day infrastructure needs to be implemented in the South isn't there. Creation of jobs, beyond the military sector. I mean, what does Mississippi produce right now that the rest of the country needs?
Poverty.
I mean, cotton was king 100 plus years ago, but a lot of that has kind of subsided, and it's like these supposed small government states, where small government exists, there's no longevity to these small government states. They don't really produce anything, and they kind of leech off of the blue states that they're adjacent to.
Hey, what's up, panel?
What's going on, Renaissance?
What's up? Now, yeah, quickly add to what you're saying, Mike. Essentially, southern states, your economy is basically made up of, you have manufacturing, so all sorts of manufacturing industries that they've gone and recruited, corporations, some of them from overseas. You got some military bases, you got construction, agriculture, and that's really it. And then whatever they can go and attract, really. But as far as outside of some major cities and some small, sort of regional cities where you do have some of the industry that you would see in a major metro area, like some tech or things like that. You're right. It's no opportunities in these places, and that's something that's going to have to be dealt with. And it's ironic when you see all this ardent Trump support in these places, because it's like, okay, what policies has this guy promoted that's helped you?
What's the correlation between a poor MAGA supporter and Trump himself? What's the correlation there? You have a guy who's coming out of New York, with a lot of perceived wealth and business acumen, and you have a poor MAGA supporter who's barely scraping by, who's in food lines, in Walmart without a mask on, doesn't know what's going to happen in the next 7 days because the opportunities that would be on the table, it's not cemented in anything. And so what I'm saying here is Trump is being seen as this messiah, but he hasn't really delivered on anything in 4 years in these flyover states. I mean, okay, so he brought carrier back to Indiana.
Temporarily.
I was gonna say temporarily, yeah.
Yeah, and then Indiana carrier ends up going down to Mexico, and Indiana is out of the money that the state taxes help subsidize the corporation for, and they have nothing now. Okay, well, they have Foxconn in what is that, Detroit, Michigan, but that's not a big Trump stronghold. I'm not seeing the correlation between the administration and his supporters in regards to small government.
Oh no! I mean, this whole thing on the Capitol has pulled the sheet off of what they mean by conservatism for some of these people. It is essentially conserving white supremacy. That's essentially what it is. Because when you look at, like I said, that proves that the Constitution is not important. It proves pretty much that this guy who racist sites have literally said since his election have seen major upticks in traffic. It essentially says, hey, this is what we're going to preserve. This is what we're after. And it's reflected in the fact that, like you said, you can't really point to anything that Trump is doing for them, even though people will say, oh, well, we like the policies.
And then they can't name any.
Yeah, exactly. You can't name any.
Yeah, you end up having to name it for them. And then they say, oh, yeah, I like that too. All right. Yeah, me too. Hashtag me too.
And the policies that they name, they're not conservative policies. They're nowhere near traditional conservative policies.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The entire time, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was actually watching a video on the Lincoln Project, and that's even what they were saying. They were saying they're essentially, they're saying basically, Republican Party essentially played the game of, they're not going to be really relevant as a national party. They're just going to basically hold enough seats in these regional places to call themselves a party, and he's like, that's going to happen for the next 20 years. And they're going for, hey, we're going to try to do anything we can to stop these people. Because I sent y'all that email where all these corporations have essentially said that they're in one of three categories. They're not donating to any political action committees, or the other two is specifically not donating to any Republican committees, or we're not donating to any of these people who said that they were going to object to certifying the election. So that's going to be a big fallout, in my opinion, because whether these people like it or not, that's where a lot of their money comes from. I mean, you had that guy who was running around in the Capitol with those zip ties. He's having to get a public appointed lawyer. He can't even afford to hire his own.
Well, Trump said himself during his initial campaign, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the lawyer fees. Will he make good on his promise? I don't know. Can I share my screen real quick, MLT?
1 second.
I mean, Mike, he is going to Texas today, so maybe he'll pick up his bill. But I mean, he didn't even pay the bus company to go and pick his supporters up. So
he wrote a check, man, it bounced.
Yeah,
and he bounced with the check, or actually bounced for the check.
Yeah, let me pull up this site right here. It says apply sentence, and they have 8 economic indicators. Are red or blue states better? This is from last summer. And so, let me zoom in real quick.
Healthcare is going to be a big one because all these states didn't accept Medicaid. Medicare expansion, or Obamacare.
Yeah. So, model and failed states, top and bottom 5. 60% are the model states are blue, making Democrats only the minor winner for this metric. However, 100% of the failed states are red, making Democrats the major winner. Okay, the good and the bad baskets. And so what they refer to is the economic output of the states, the ones who vote red and the ones who vote blue. 73% of the good basket are blue, making Democrats the major winner. Similarly, 73% of the bad basket are red, again, giving Democrats a major win. Okay. And what you're seeing here is these economic indicators pointing to the fact that most of your states that support or that the Trump administration won are not economically viable states. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Texas is a purple state. All of your economic power is driven by the blue cities: Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth,
Houston,
San
Antonio.
and San Antonio. Those are mostly blue cities. I mean, and with the influx of California residents and California corporations coming in, it's a blue state. I mean, not a blue, it's a purple state by 2022. It's purple. There's no way of getting around it. And so you can't rely on the idea that, oh, well, Texas is a red state. For now, right now, January 12th, it's a red state. Come 2022, that's a purple state, man.
Yeah. Same thing with I didn't realize this. I was looking at it yesterday. I thought because one of the seats in Georgia was a special election seat, and I thought it was Ossoff's seat. So I thought he was going to have to run in 2022. And I was going back and looking, and I realized no, it's Warnock who's going to have to run again. Which I don't think he's losing. I think he's going to have that seat honestly as long as he wants it. With the way the demographics of Georgia are going, and I think it's like you said. I don't know if 2022 you'll see a major shift in Texas, but I mean, look at what happened in 16 with Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke. He almost won, and it's just spelling doom, and that's why you're seeing this wild reaction from people because also what happened with Democrats winning Georgia twice in the runoff and in the general election, it's giving proof to what a lot of people have been saying that, hey, essentially Democratic Party needs to invest in some of the building out the infrastructure in some of these southern states and invest in some of these black candidates and the infrastructure to turn out the vote, and you can win. And, Stacey Abrams essentially did that in Georgia. You can do that in North Carolina. You can do that in Texas. You can do that in Florida. I mean, really, you do it in those states, and I mean, you sealed the map. Really, you just do it in Texas. I mean, it's over.
You can flip a state by coming up with if the left wants to come up with an economic plan for these red states.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like you're like in FDR territory. Once you get these people back to working, dude, it's a wrap.
Because that's what happened. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
No, I was just going to say that's what happened with Andrew Yang when he was on his campaign. He went to Iowa, and for the Iowa caucus, and he was seeing all these MAGA supporters on the ground, and they had not received any support at all. And so when he's engaging them about UBI and these other sort of Medicare for all, their heads are blown like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, I could use something like that. Yeah, but those are leftist ideals. But I have to rethink this.
But yeah, because talk radio and the right wing don't even explain this type of stuff. They just say, hey, these people are socialists, and that's it.
Yeah, the socialist healthcare. But you don't have any healthcare as it is. You're going down to Walgreens and looking for like, tooth decay sort of medicines to keep yourself from swelling up at night, but that's not actual healthcare. You're going to these minute clinics to try to get help, but that's not a 100%, solidified healthcare solution. You're looking for patchwork, and conservative leadership has no answers.
Yeah, that's what Trump and Republicans in general like. They spent so much time on just repealing Obamacare just because it was Obamacare. And really didn't even have, and still really have not had a plan for healthcare reform.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, not just because it was Obamacare, but because it was a black man's face on it. The idea was to defeat, a victory for black men, right, or a black man. That somehow, some way, we can never allow this to,
it mess up his legacy essentially. Like that was essentially Trump's thing is I want to remove act like the Obama presidency never happened from a policy standpoint.
Yeah, and if it did happen, it was bad, and what we're going to do for you is really nothing, because we're not going to offer you anything. You're just going to sit there and accept nothing as it is. Well, he got rid of, the mandatory payments behind it, right? If you didn't have healthcare, then you had to pay it out of your taxes. Okay, well, he got rid of that, but that's not reforming, repealing, and replacing of the ACA. That's not it. You still need a system in place, and these flyover states, these red states, don't have anything to offer other than send these guys to CVS and Walgreens and hope for the best.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, Mike. You were talking about an economic plan. If you were a Democrat, what would that look like? As far as if you say, or I guess MOT, state of Mississippi, for example, if you were, won that state, what policies would you go and implement that you think would make the state better long term?
Infrastructure.
Oh, me? Yeah, infrastructure and job training, because nobody really fixes those roads out there. Because you have to understand, because of other racist things that have happened in the past, they never put any stretch of interstate highway through the parts of the state, even though this technically is, I-69 that goes from north to south, because it goes through mostly black areas. They just name it another highway. Mm-hmm. So that way they won't get any of the government funding, because with the government funding for the actually fixing the roads goes to infrastructure that goes along with powering those roads out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Because most of the U.S. highways, federal highways, have to have electricity alongside them. So in order to make sure that there's not any infrastructure built within that area that's easier for people to access, they just turned them into state roads and just never redid them.
Yep.
So if they were to just do that, just name it the actual I-69 corridor, which it actually is from north to south, it wouldn't be that much of a problem.
Yeah, these infrastructure projects are not something that happens, for a few weeks or a few months. These are things
every year for like the next 20 years, people can start working. Right now, there'll be the dudes who actually retire.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because you're going to need if you're really talking about upping the economy in those areas, your airports, you're going to need to build some in some places, and some of the regional ones, you're going to need to build more hangar space if you're going to really talk about, bringing industry in, so people aren't, having to drive, like you said, with roads across country like that, on 2-lane roads, improve the interstate. You're going to have to do something about the educational system. You're going to have to, and in my opinion, you're going to have to do some things to try to, almost what like Vermont is doing, in you're going to need to attract some, highly educated people who can come and essentially start businesses, essentially sort of give you your jump start.
You're going to need a bullet train project that goes from somewhere like Houston all the way up to Jackson, and from Jackson all the way up to Memphis. Or Birmingham, for that matter. You need a massive.
You got Highway 82 that goes from Dallas all the way to Mississippi for the most part.
Yeah,
you can easily.
Yeah. You got if you want to do something like that, you almost would say you could do something, because I know the Estella, you can go from New York to, I believe, New Orleans on the Amtrak train. So if you could turn that into like a bullet train or something all the way up the coast, that'd even be something.
Yeah, but I think the Acela train is limited to like maybe 110 miles an hour at best on short strips. I mean, China right now has a train that does up to 300 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, this is ridiculous that a country that 10 years ago didn't have any sort of mass transit suddenly has the fastest train in the world. And we're sitting around, twiddling our thumbs about Medicare for all. This is absurd.
It would do something massive. I mean, when you start talking about the real estate prices, like that's why if I was someone on the eastern, one of these states in the tri-state area, I'd be pushing for something like that. Because if you want to bring some of these real estate prices down, if someone can literally, work in New York City or, Boston or DC, and then take a train, 30, 20 minutes of their time and live, an hour and a half outside the city. I mean, that's just going to, it's just going to make it a lot more livable, make people want to live there more. So, I mean, I'd be pushing, especially if you're losing population.
Yeah, we got that. It's called New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's all that,
George, I want to shout
Yeah.
Super Chat real quick. Shout out Super Chat.
Okay.
Charles, there you go. SYSBM, shout out to you. All right, thanks so much. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, what's up, Black Torch?
No, what's up? What's up? I'm just looking at this so-called rally, and I'm saying they'll never learn.
Isn't he going to like the Alamo or something?
Yeah.
No, well, and it may. I think the Alamo. He doesn't get the. What do you say? The ironic thing about the Alamo, didn't they all get wiped out?
Pretty much, but he's in Alamo, Texas, looking at a piece of the border wall that he say is completed, and this is what supposedly this live stream of this rally.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure what you would call it. Press conference is about talking about the success of the border wall in Alamo, Texas. It's not the
and
Alamo.
didn't these guys just try to attack the Capitol in Texas with this bullshit?
Not these guys. We got to keep that in mind. These people that are right here right now are not the same people that were in Washington, to our knowledge, right? We don't have any.
No. Wasn't there an action against the Capitol in Texas? I believe it was there was
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying the people in this video right here, we can't really prove that they were the ones there. But
no, I'm not saying but I'm just saying the same.
Mike, he's talking about the Alamo, the actual historical incident of the Alamo.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. And I'm just I'm still going through some work-related items, so I'll be fading in and out. It's just that this solar winds thing is like really ridiculous. I just got all this work to do with this thing. So,
all right.
Let's see if there's some sound. Hold on a second.
All right.
No, nothing. So, all right. What I'll do is I'll listen on it on C-SPAN on my headset, and once they start speaking, I'll just go back to unmute it and let y'all know that it's time to let this event play out. But this is where we're at so far.
I was gonna say, it's gonna be interesting because they were saying in the FBI memo that they thought that there could be attacks at capitals around the country, armed protest, and see, that's what I was more thinking, that hey, there have been people saying they come back to DC on the inauguration, but I'm like, they're gonna have so many National Guard there, it's going to be hard to pull something. But if you're talking about something around these state houses in these other states, that's a whole different animal.
No, the DC is supposed to be fenced off. Until the 30th or something like that. It's supposed to be fenced off. But
oh my God.
You were saying something, MLT?
Yeah, this is starting.
Okay.
The irony of this song is amazing.
Yeah, after you storm the Capitol to keep Trump in power.
We worked long and hard. Please sit down. We worked long and hard to get this done. They said it couldn't be done, and we got it done. One of the largest infrastructure projects in the history of our country. I'm honored to be here in the Rio Grande Valley with the courageous men and women of Customs and Border Patrol. These people are incredible. They're really incredible. I've gotten to know you very well over the last 4 years. Many of you are friends from all of the work we did in designing the wall. We got it exactly as you wanted it. Everything, including your protective plate on top. I say, why did we put that? And they said we needed for extra protection, climb plate. And we have everything you want. It's steel, it's concrete inside the steel, and then it's rebar, a lot of heavy rebar inside the concrete. And it's as strong as you're going to get, as strong as you can have. But we gave you 100% of what you wanted. So now you have no excuses. I didn't want you to have any excuses. and you set records, and we can't let the next administration even think about taking it down, if you can believe that. I don't think that will happen. I think when you see what it does and how it's so important for our country, nobody's going to be touching it. And you are very proud of it, and you're proud of the work you did, because we really designed it together. We're joined together to celebrate a great achievement, the extraordinarily successful building of the wall on the southern border. Before we begin, I'd like to say that free speech is under assault like never before. The 25th Amendment is of zero risk to me, but will come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration. As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for. The impeachment hoax is a continuation of the greatest and most vicious witch hunt in the history of our country, and is causing tremendous anger and division and pain, far greater than most people will ever understand, which is very dangerous for the USA, especially at this very tender time. And now I'd like to briefly address the events of last week. Millions of our citizens watched on Wednesday as a mob stormed the Capitol and trashed the halls of government. As I have consistently said throughout my administration, we believe in respecting America's history and traditions, not tearing them down. We believe in the rule of law, not in violence or rioting. Because of the pandemic, horrible, horrible, invisible enemy, and despite our tremendous success developing a vaccine years before it was thought even remotely possible, nobody thought it was going to be possible. They said it would take 5 years. Sir, it will take 7 years. All of our scientists are saying, our advisors, it will take 7 years, 5 years, 10 years maybe. Well, we did it just like I said we would, and we had it out years and years before they thought it was possible. And we're now delivering it to states, including your state, where your governor and government are doing a terrific job in getting it administered. Texas and Florida is doing great. Some of them are doing great. Some aren't doing as well, but they have all they can handle, and we get it to them as fast as they need it, and even faster. But they're calling it a medical miracle, and this has been a difficult year and a very difficult election. The pandemic has made it a very, very difficult year for our country and virtually every country all over the world. Now is the time for our nation to heal, and it's time for peace and for calm. Respect for law enforcement and the great people within law enforcement, so many are here, is the foundation of the MAGA agenda. And we're a nation of law, and we're a nation of order. That is why we're here today to talk about what we must do to uphold the rule of law in America and how we must continue to support our law enforcement heroes, which is exactly what you are. You feel like a hero? Yeah, I think you do, right? You do, and you are. I want to thank Customs and Border Patrol Commissioner Mark Morgan, who's been incredible. Where's Mark? Mark, stand up, Mark. Great job. Fantastic. Chief Patrol Agent Brian Hastings. Brian, thank you very much. Great job. He's so happy with it. He said, so this really works. And most importantly, the brave law enforcement officers who risk their lives every day to protect our families and our country. I also want to thank a tremendous gentleman, a friend of mine, Tom Holman. He's a great American patriot, and he was with us right from the beginning, right, Tom? You knew exactly. He said, we need a wall. When they were saying, no, we need drones, we need drones. I said, why? So you can watch the people pour into our country illegally? And I want to thank you very much, Tom. What a professional job you've done. All of you people, incredible. Everyone here today is part of an incredible success story. This is a real success story. When I took office, we inherited a broken, dysfunctional, and open border. Everybody was pouring in at will, working alongside the heroes in this great outdoor space, looking at our wall. We reformed our immigration system and achieved the most secure southern border in U.S. history. It is at a level that it's never been before. We took on the cartels, the coyotes, and the special interests, and we restored the rule of law. For years, politicians ran for office promising to secure the border only to get elected and to do the absolute exact opposite. They even promised a wall, if you remember. About 10 years ago, they promised a wall, but they couldn't get it built. It wasn't easy getting it built. Getting it financed was tough. Getting it built was even tougher. All the different chains of title and all the different things we had to go through. Very, very complex and very difficult, but we got it done. But they had it years ago. You remember that better than anybody, right? And they never got it done. They never, ever completed the task. And then ultimately, the money was sent back to the federal government. Spent, but no wall was built. But unlike those who came before me, I kept my promises. And today we celebrate an extraordinary milestone, the completion of the promised 450 miles of border wall. 450 miles. Nobody realizes how big that is. I remember when I first came down about a year and a half ago, we're under construction, and I started walking. And I'm looking at the wall, and I'm walking and walking. And I'm used to like a development project where you can walk a wall, 10 acres, 5 acres, 2 acres, 1 acre. And I realized that's a long time. That's a big wall. A lot of the wall you have is incredibly natural. You have the mountains, you have the rivers, you have some very powerful water areas. You have some areas that are virtually impossible to get by. So we didn't need walls everywhere, but where we needed them, because it's been so successful that we've added nearly 300 miles, and that's currently under construction. This was our original wish, to get these areas done where there was such trouble. And now we have it. It's either in construction or pre-construction, an additional 300 miles. In every region that we've built the wall, illegal crossings and drug smuggling have plummeted, absolutely plummeted. In the Rio Grande Valley, crossings have dropped nearly 80%. In Yuma, Arizona, illegal entries have been slashed by 90%. Nationwide, ICE and Border Patrol have seized over 2 million pounds of fentanyl, heroin, meth, and other deadly narcotics, saving thousands and thousands of lives. We've arrested nearly 500,000 illegal aliens with criminal records, some with very serious criminal records of the type you don't want to know about, like murder. We removed nearly 20,000 gang members from the United States, including 4,500 members of MS-13, probably the worst gang of them all. Through the landmark reforms we've put into place, we have ended the immigration chaos and reestablished American sovereignty. Our most important reform was ending catch and release. Not easy to do. Dealing with Congress, it's very, very difficult, which is the functional equivalent of open borders, but even worse. It's catch and release them. It means release into our country, not into another country. This policy was exploited by vicious criminal organizations who understood the laws better than our people understood them for years, to spread misery and suffering and drugs all across the hemisphere. Now, instead of catch and release, we have detain and remove. It's called detain and remove. Doesn't that sound better? One of the biggest loopholes we closed was asylum fraud. Under the old broken system, if you merely requested asylum, you were released into the country. The most ridiculous thing anyone's ever seen. And we were taking in some people that you didn't want to have in your country. We instituted a series of historic policy changes to shut down asylum fraud, and that's what we did. This includes the groundbreaking agreement with Mexico known as the Migrant Protection Protocols, or MPP. Under this agreement, if an illegal alien requests asylum, they have to wait in Mexico until their case is heard. They used to wait here, and when they were waiting, they would say bye-bye, and they'd disappear somewhere into our country, and essentially would never find them again, would never see them again. This one measure alone ended a humanitarian crisis and saved countless lives, and especially, I have to say, lives from crime. I want to thank the great president of Mexico. He is a great gentleman, a friend of mine, and President Obrador. He is a man who really knows what's happening and He loves his country and he also loves the United States. But I want to thank for his friendship and his professional working relationship. We actually had 27,000 Mexican soldiers guarding our borders over the last 2 years. Nobody thought that was possible. And they made it very, very difficult, and that's why the numbers were able to plunge even during the construction of the wall. And by the way, one of the big elements of the wall that make it so successful is we can have far fewer people working now. They can be working on other things related to crime and drug prevention. A lot of other elements they're working on because we save massive numbers of people. And included here, we have the most sophisticated camera systems and most sophisticated electronic systems anywhere in the world. We implemented 3 historic agreements with the Northern Triangle. That's Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Under these critical asylum cooperation agreements, the burden of illegal immigration is now shared all across the region. Now, when an illegal immigrant is arrested at our border, they can be sent to a neighboring instead of into a U.S. community. Prior to my getting here, countries wouldn't accept that. They would say, no, no, no. I said, well, you got to take them. First month, I'll never forget. These gentlemen right here came to me. They said they won't take them back. They came. They may be murderers. They may be cartel heads. They may be some really vicious people. The countries didn't want them back. And I stopped all payments to those countries. I stopped everything going to those countries. And after we stopped for about a month, you remember? After we stopped for about a month, they called. They said, we'd love to have them back. And they never gave them as much money as they were getting, by the way. So it was amazing. And you people know better than anyone. They wouldn't take them back. We'd have planes flying over, loaded up with people that we didn't want here. And then say, don't ever even think about landing that plane. And they take them by boat and they take them by bus and they wouldn't let them into their countries. And all of a sudden they say, welcome back. We love having you. So it was a great thing. And now they do take them back. And the relationship with those countries, the triangle, the relationship is a much better one than it was before. In addition to our agreements with Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, we have systematically reformed the regulatory code to return asylum to its original legal meaning and purpose, not a free ticket for entry. A recent comprehensive report by the Department of Homeland Security and Justice show how effective our reforms have been and how disastrous their removal would be. It would be a disaster for our country. I know they're thinking about removing them. I hope they don't do that. I hope they don't do that. It would be an absolute travesty for our country. The report conclusively proves once and for all that aliens released at the border remain at large in the country and do not return home. They won't go home. And you rarely find them. It's very tough to find them. So we have aliens released in our country, many of whom are serious criminals. And we've stopped that. Don't ever start that process again. By contrast, under our policies, 98% of aliens that remain in DHS custody are removed. Simply put, if you enter the United States illegally, you are apprehended and immediately, safely removed from our country. Without this core principle, there is no border, there is no law, there is no water. My administration also instituted vital public health measures on the border in response to the China virus. Under Title 42 of the U.S. Code, illegal immigrants are being promptly removed to protect the health of border agents, other migrants and local communities, and the public at large. Removing these protections would invite a public health catastrophe of epic proportions, as you probably know. In Tijuana, various parts of Mexico, the COVID, it's got about 24 names. I could call it from COVID to China virus. I can call it the plague, call it the China plague, a lot of different names. But we always call it the invisible enemy. But the invisible enemy has been very tough on Mexico. And we have areas along the border where we're in great shape because right there, because of that we're in great shape. But on the other side in Mexico, they're suffering greatly. with the virus. It's been incredible what we've achieved. And we didn't do the wall because of COVID. We did the wall because of security and drugs and other things. But it turned out that in the middle of it all, along came this horrible plague. We inherited a dangerously lawless border. The people that work here are unbelievably brave. I've seen what they have to endure, what they have to go through. They're tough, they're strong, and they're great patriots, great Americans. We fixed it and we secured it. We empowered our wonderful ICE and Border Patrol to fulfill their oath and sworn officers. They became sworn officers of the law, and they love their job. It's a tough job. It's a nasty job. They're not paid what they should be paid, to be honest, but we got you up. We got you up. But these are incredibly talented people. They could probably do a lot better in terms of economics than they do here, but they love what they do and they love their country. We also put into place vital measures to protect American workers, keep out terrorists, and stop the abuse of our welfare system, where they come up, go in our welfare system, live for years on American welfare without ever having a job. We also have, and we had, but we have them all the time. We have terrorists from the Middle East coming into our country through the southern border. That was before what you see right here. Because it was easier to come into our country through the southern border than it was through airports or any other means. So they'd land in South America and they'd work their way up and they'd come into our country. And these are not people from the countries that you would suspect. These are people from some very seriously dangerous places in the Middle East. And the numbers are far greater than anybody would understand, really far greater. Removing any of these measures would hamstring our workers, endanger our country, and cost taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars a year. No matter our party, we should all agree on the need to protect our workers, our families, and our citizens of all backgrounds, no matter who they are. In particular, if our border security measures are reversed, it will trigger a tidal wave of illegal immigration, a wave like you've never seen before. And I can tell you that already waves are starting to come up from 2,000 and 1,000 and 500 miles away. We see what's coming. And they're coming because they think that it's gravy train at the end. It's going to be a gravy train. Change the name from the caravans, which I think we came up with, to the gravy train, because that's what they're looking for the gravy. This will be an unmitigated calamity for national security, public safety, and public health. It would destroy millions and millions of jobs and claim thousands of innocent lives. The policies I put into place are uniformly and strongly supported by the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol. We worked on them together, just like we did on the wall. We worked on the policies together because nobody knows this whole world better than the incredible people right in front of me. To terminate those policies is knowingly to put America in really serious danger and to override the great career experts that have worked so hard, those from DHS. At this very moment, smugglers and coyotes are preparing to surge the border if our policies are loosened or removed. I mean, they're literally waiting, big groups of people, some of them very unsavory, I might add. This is an entirely preventable tragedy waiting to happen. The safety of our nation must come before politics. We have many disagreements in the country, but we should all agree the urgent need to secure our borders, protect our homeland, and allow law enforcement to fulfill its mission without political interference. ICE and Border Patrol agents swore a sacred oath to uphold the law. No political appointee should ever order them to violate that oath. These are real experts. They really get it. And I'll tell you who else gets it. The Hispanic population of our country gets it. Because not only did I win Texas in historic numbers, but I won border towns, which are largely Hispanic. And people were amazed to see that. And the numbers, they say, were Governor of Texas called. Greg, great guy, great governor called. He said, you had numbers that nobody's had since Reconstruction. Reconstruction means Civil War, and largely Hispanic. They understand it better than anybody, and they want law enforcement to help them live safe lives. The laws that Congress passed must be upheld. To the men and women of ICE, Customs and Border Protection, and all across DHS, law enforcement in general, you have earned the everlasting gratitude of our nation. You have no idea how much our nation loves you and respects you. I don't think you do have an idea, but it's true. I only hope and pray that your voice will be heard, honored, heeded, and respected long into the future. God bless you. God bless law enforcement, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great job.
Like, is that all he came for?
Yeah,
So he
man,
that
this
is
is
so
crazy. Dude, this is insane.
You know what that was for? That was just to let people know that he's still around. That's all it was. It wasn't what message he can. The corporate people already spoken. They're taking their money away from him. He's finished. He's just now trying to say, "Oh, be peaceful," because they told him unless you control the motherfuckers, they gonna come after you. That's the only reason he's out there.
I was gonna say the wall isn't even finished. It is in one section.
No. Like, man, what
Listen.
are you like, dude? It would have been high to the Larry if somebody just yelled out, "What are you talking about?"
No,
And the funny
what would have
thing,
been funny? Go ahead. What would have been funny is somebody would have climbed the wall as he's giving a speech.
Oh, man.
like they
Would
were
have
doing,
been
like
hilarious.
like they, no, that's what they were.
Go ahead,
No,
Renaissance.
that's what someone was saying at the Capitol. They were like, you see all these Trump supporters climbing the Capitol walls, but Trump's building this border wall is going to keep everyone out. Like, yeah.
I mean, we don't have an illegal immigration problem. We have an illegal employer problem. You punish the hell out of these employers to the point to where they'll never use the actual labor, and that's how you handle the actual immigration problem.
The crazy thing too was hearing him praise law enforcement. It's like, are you serious? You just literally incited people to go storm the Capitol, and a law enforcement officer is dead, and you didn't even call the family. Pence did.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
the thing
He was
is,
a total sociopath. Go ahead.
no, the thing is, he had he deregulated all of the conservation regulations on the border that protected all of these sort of endangered trees and other sorts of wildlife there, just to put up a wall that never got built in the first place.
And that could be defunded and taken down with the next administration.
And took it out of the military's defense budget.
Yeah.
$5 billion. That's why I said before, the way he should have handled COVID, he should have used the defense budget to supplement these, especially his flyover states, these red states, with $1 billion each in order to defend themselves against the pandemic itself. He would have secured his way all the way into November had he had done that. But something was not clicking up there. Somebody was, the elevator didn't go to the top that day.
I was listening to Giuliani, I guess.
Yeah.
You say that day? Did you just? It wasn't one day. It was multiple days. He was out to lunch. No,
the day that they were advising him on how to handle the pandemic, and he kind of just blew them off. If you listen to that what was it? The leaked audio from the interview that he had with the reporter.
Yeah, no, Torch is saying that's pretty much every day in Trump's administration.
Well, they eliminated the Office of Pandemics in the first place. They had the playbook, and they just got rid of it a year before this thing.
Yeah, but they eliminated the office that not only handles pandemic, but also follows up on the vaccines that you give people,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
They had the playbook, and they blew it, man. He blew it. This guy was totally incompetent for this job. He was just wasn't ready for it.
Busy playing double dribble, man, shooting from half court, man.
All right, let's get the conversation on track. All right, so obviously everybody just heard that Earth 2 version, as if like you said, Mike, it was the finger snapping of Thanos, and everybody just went back to normal, and there was nothing that happened. There was none of these electioneer people who was doing anything. He just came out here and had a speech like nothing has went on in the entire world, except for he just lost the election and he took it like a man. And he kept talking about how much support he had. No, Texas is as close as it's ever been to being lost. Those people on the border don't like you like that. Like, I don't understand why it is that you would have to lie about things that are easily researchable.
He panders to people who he knows won't go and do the easy research. So
let's deal with the reactions to the speech in its entirety, if you can believe that. Mike, what was your overall feeling about the entire speech? What was your actual view of the entire speech that you just heard from this guy?
It was pre-written. Clearly, it was pre-written. Usually, when it's honest, he kind of it has more charisma to it. He had to have written this maybe a week or so ago that this was going to happen. So I think that the speech was empty. It didn't really have any value to it. It didn't make a whole lot of sense at this time. A border to pride yourself on, a vaccine to pride yourself on. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the wake of things as it is right now. But I guess this is his last hurrah, and so this is the saving grace that he has.
All right, Renaissance Man, what did you think about this conversation that was had about the president with other people who wanted to have another conversation? What was your actual?
I didn't see really the overall purpose of him doing it, other than, I guess, trying to take the attention away from, hey, all this is going on. So he knows, I guess, probably immigration is how he started his campaign. Coming down the escalators, calling people rapists, and some of them are good people. So I think only thing I can think is that he's trying to go out in the same way he launched his campaign, which he knows immigration was one of those hot button issues that he could push. So I think he's trying to go and try to, at least with his base, try to take the attention off of what happened last week, and maybe even what's going to happen in the coming weeks, and try to go back and say, hey, this is what I did, and maybe someone got in his ear and said, hey, this went too far, so go and try to reshape the conversation, back to this issue, and we can keep going. We can pull Trumpism away from what we saw last week and try to put it back to where we had it all during the campaign. So as for what he did in the individual speech, I mean, usual hyperbole, things that are easily, like you said, verifiable, that are not true. So it was kind of a dud for traveling all the way to Texas and just doing that. Is kind of like, okay.
Wow, man. Black Torch. Same question for you.
It was similar. I had the same experience, but he's trying that speech wasn't for the rank and file. That was the speech that he hoped corporate America and everybody, because the first thing he says, I want peace. I love the police. I love policemen. I love the law enforcement. He's now virtually signaling to corporate donors and all them that he's I hate to say learn his lesson, but he's under, they got him, he heard what they said, and now he's trying to fix some kind of image that he may or may not have, but I doubt it. The speech was weak. He went back and kept coming back to his strengths, but he didn't come up with any of what the country is ailing now. So I don't know. I look at it as I give it a D minus.
Go.
Very simple. Speech of a defeated man going down in infamy.
Wow. It just you can't come out after all that has went on and give a speech like this. This is worse than saying nothing. Dude, so you mean to tell me that you hopped on a plane, flew all the way to Texas to talk about how safe you kept people from Latinos, and you had so much Latino support? Yeah, well, that's fine and good, man, but we had something that went on last week, man. It ain't got nothing to do with no damn wall, man. Unbelievable. Like, crazy. DC, what did you think about the speech that the president gave?
Hey, greetings, everyone. What's up, everybody?
How's it going, man?
Whew, man, look, it's just keep on coming, man. I mean, this is somebody that, at first I thought maybe allow him to ride out the final days, but he needs to go. I mean, if his whole sole reason for going out there was to kind of like, speak to his base, I mean, these are things that you're not going to be able to implement. You're not going to be able to actually see these things through. Your presidency is over. You should be working with transitioning the new president. That's the process. But he don't want to have anything to do with that. So now you're going around doing a stump speech. I just don't understand it, man. I don't get it. I don't get why people even look at him the way that they do.
I mean, I should understand, man, the amount of tone deafness or lack of situational awareness of what has went on within the country. And this is the first thing that come out of your mouth, especially, he'll like, yeah, it's the greatest witch hunt ever. No. They went out the stuff that was there because of the way that you were acting. Like they're going through stuff right now over the way that you're acting. Wow, this is just crazy. So we're going to go over these 3 or 4 articles, and then we're going to get up out of here. But go ahead,
I was going to quickly say, too, and the support for law enforcement, that's in the backdrop of, rumors that you didn't even try, that you tried to stop the National Guard from being activated when the Capitol was under siege. So you didn't even really address any of that.
Didn't even care. Didn't even matter to him at all. All right, we're going to go over this first article. Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, can we put on the no-fly list? I think they should be on the list. Along with those reps who were actually doing those warm-up speeches for the actual event that actually happened. I think all these people should be put on the watch list. I don't think that none of these people should be let off the hook for what's going on. So
would that, just for clarification, would that just be temporary, or would they ban him for like life essentially?
I don't know.
Until the investigation is over. Yeah,
because there's a procedure to get off the list. There's a procedure to get off.
That's exactly right. They have to look at you first, examine, clear you, clear you to fly. You have to be cleared. It's a process where they have to review, take a look at your case, and clear you. So this could go on for quite a while.
Yeah, and it's not only that. You can't rent a car, you can't rent a truck, you can't do anything when you're on that list. You can't do anything.
I think you got to
So,
go. You got to go Greyhound, leave the driving to us.
Sit your ass down and leave the driving on. All right. Mike, any thoughts on that specifically?
Yeah, I think Cori Bush is going to be a lot more impactful on this as well, because the no-fly list is one thing, but then having them removed it from their congressional seats is another. And so I think this is just the beginning, the precursor to having them actually removed out of office.
Yeah, for me personally, the 120, what was it? Anybody who signed on to that lawsuit from the Texas AG, all those people have to go. Like, this is now a criminal conspiracy that ended up being a potential act. So all parts of this conspiracy has to go with it.
And that AG is already under investigation anyway for other stuff.
Oh yeah. But for me, this is the end of a road of conspiracies, and it's part of the same action and activity. I know people want to walk away now, but no. Every lawsuit that was filed, every press conference that was made, or the testimony that was done, all these people should pay for this now. They're all material witnesses and part of this conspiracy.
And I wonder too, and I'm sure it's going to come up in court, civil court, but the officer that was killed, where they threw the fire extinguisher and it hit him in the head and killed him eventually. His family, what kind of legal ramifications are there going to be on the civil side for these people who incited something like this?
Oh, sure.
This is going to be big. I'm understanding now another police officer passed from his injuries. That's my understanding. I don't know if that's true or not.
No, it's the same one. It was the same one that died.
No, one committed suicide.
Yeah. They've reported actually, I think several officers who were at the Capitol have, I guess, kind of been put on suicide watch for, I don't know if it's the trauma from what's going on or if it could be that they're worried about being implicated in some of this stuff.
There's 15 under investigation and there's more. There's 2 that's been ceremonially suspended. That was the guy taking the pictures with and the other guy directing them around where the officers were at. So those 2 have been suspended, but the other guys are under suspicion. So they're investigating them, and there's more. There's Secret Service dudes. There's, you could name it in law enforcement, Homeland Security guys. They're all up the creek.
Yeah, it's a tough one. This is a tough one.
Yeah, so someone getting killed, that took this thing to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially a law enforcement officer.
Well, it's capital murder, and as you were doing a felony. So
let's hold the death penalty.
Yep. Well, they used to hang traitors. I don't know, but they don't do that anymore, I guess.
Well, our country has never really been that hard, especially on white traitors. When you take a look at Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis and you got Fort Bragg in North Carolina and all this kind of stuff. We actually venerated traitors, slavers, insurrectionists and murderers. They murdered hundreds of thousands of Northern troops. So that's just a part of what we are. Especially when it comes to white America, these people have been. I don't know of any other country that exists anywhere on this planet at this stage of the game where the insurrectionists are actually venerated. I'd be hard pressed if anybody here would know of any other country outside of this one that has that.
Nope.
So that's a big part of our history. People say we've been hard on. We have not only venerated these people, we've put them in marble, we've etched them out in granite, and we've molded them in pewter, and we're just taking some of those down now. But it's part of our country. we have celebrated the insurrectionists and traitors. That's why I think there's a big part of why those guys were there and feeling comfortable about that, because in flying the Southern battle flag as well, because they know this. They're comfortable with that.
That is crucial. Losing the ideological fight of the Civil War has always been an issue in this country. They lost the actual physical war and the economic war, but they won ideologically. The white supremacy is tied to the institutions of this country, especially police departments. It's a fact. It's just a stone cold fact that they cannot deny. That's the reason why they didn't come down hard. It was too hard for them to kind of go against something that they feel is right and just. They agree with it. A lot of these people agree with this. A lot of these people support Trump. Even how jealous he is, they support him.
This is going to go beyond Trump. This is just not. This is going to be beyond him. It's a part of what we are. We never solved this problem after the war. We never did.
That's what I'm saying. Ideologically,
Trump ignited the flame. He helped ignite the flame. But this thing has always been. Go ahead.
Well, this is not even about Trump at all. This is all about the institutions that basically seeded these particular groundings for whether it's the military, whether it's the police departments, whether it's Capitol Police, whether it's the agencies that are actually in Washington. They have actually hit this, and it's been there since the very beginning.
Well, that's one of the reasons why they said they didn't send the National Guard initially, right? They didn't send a response team initially to the Capitol because they said it wouldn't look good the optics wouldn't look good. That somehow suppressing white males entering this massive institution, this national institution, somehow would not look good to the media. And so they decided not to do it, but did do it when it came to BLM and the left.
Yeah. And I sent y'all that article of the arrest differential between the two. If you look at, I believe there was it was like a 240 arrests on one day. And you had maybe 16 the day this occurred. So
they even arrested Colin Powell, a well-known professor, right, at Harvard University. Even arrested him.
Yeah. And I was going to add too on the other thing that would be interesting too, when you had those people, the guy who created the noose and was talking about hanging pins, I'm pretty sure that's going to carry a charge of at least a serious threat against a federal official, and the vice president is that. And then you had people out there chanting hang pence. So I mean, it's
that's a trip
serious.
to Gitmo. That's a trip to Gitmo right there, without a doubt, because you actually
U.S. citizens don't go to Gitmo.
Yeah.
If you're declared a terrorist, you could.
That's what I was going to thank you, Renaissance. There's other sites that they can take you. There's one in Europe, black sites. You can be gone. They can ghost you, or they can just drop you in Diego Garcia, and in one of them prisons out there, and you never come back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be serious. Just the fact that you had someone who actually erected it, and then you got people in the Capitol trying to storm. I mean, you can't just say this was a game. Like, oh, we were just talking. Like, nah, you were going to search for this guy. You had people chanting, "Get Pence, hang." I mean, it's not a good look.
Well, keep in mind the correlation, right? It was Rand Paul in July of 2020 who filibustered the anti-lynching bill. Think long and hard about that. This same party filibustered 6 months ago the anti-lynching bill while putting up a gallows and a noose right up on the Capitol.
And that was the 200th bill since the Civil War, or after the Civil War, excuse me, that was rejected. And Rand Paul said, "Well, I can't support it because they're talking about if you bruise somebody, that it could be considered, trying to lynch someone. Well, I think bruising tends to come, before very serious injuries happen when you think so.
Yeah, it was
The reason why I did it was sick.
yeah,
But
it was Tim Scott and Kamala Harris who actually pushed for the bill, and it was Rand Paul who filibustered it, and under the Trump administration. So now, if you have a R next to your name, there's a lot of bad things that come next to that, man. There's nothing beneficial about having an R next to your name.
Not now. Not right now. All right, let's go to the next article and get everybody's actual response to it. Fox News star Mark Levin calls out media for linking Trump supporters and conservatives to the Capitol riot. I don't need to read this article. It's quite ridiculous. It's amazing that they would even put this guy on TV to say stuff like this. This is what I mean by material support to traitors and giving aid and comfort to the enemy. This is what this is. This is what it looks like.
I'm surprised he did that.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. He already got threatened by his whoever owns his radio show. That if he
that article.
Okay.
The article later on. Yeah. Any thoughts, Mike? Yeah, Fox News Sunday. This is what they were talking about.
Yeah, Fox News is really just trying to distance itself from the far right and try to play a moderate platform now and leave that to OAN and the other fringe networks.
Newsmax.
Yeah.
All right. Black Torch.
It's regular programming for them. They don't, they're just trying to cover their ass now.
But how are you gonna say? I mean, here's the thing. Trump has people with red hats, which is ironic that, these things are pretty, it stands out. So you got a bunch of people out there with red hats, Trump flags, but you're saying the media is linking them to the rally. Like they identified themselves, their Twitters, their social media, the stuff they were wearing, the live streams they were doing. I mean, come on.
That's the point. They see, this is what they say. Don't look over here. This is like that Jedi mind trick they're trying to do. No, they self-identified themselves. There is no way they can say that this is me, like the woman who lost, and now it's messing with the economics. So they have to go. So.
All right. DC.
Yeah, just real simply, this is just another ploy to kind of like just suspend reality. Most of those people was waving Trump 2020 flags, if I'm not mistaken. That was pretty prevalent on the Capitol steps. And they made it fairly obvious on who they supported, whether they said, let's get Nancy Pelosi, let's hang Mike Pence because he wouldn't, proceed with the shenanigans of President Trump. I mean, people got to remember there was a pep rally at the White House before they went to the Capitol. So most of those people that was at the actual White House, listening to all those traitors, basically, I don't even know what else to call them. Listening to all those people that was basically trying to gym them up for their racist pep rally, it then told them to go ahead and storm the Capitol. That's what happened. So yeah, I mean, if you want to believe something totally opposite of what reality is, then I guess that works. But the facts don't support it.
The crazy thing to think about too is quickly, imagine if Democrats didn't have control of the House.
Yeah, that's that's true. That's true. It will be an issue.
Yeah, because I mean, there certainly would have. You see where people are. I wonder how many of these people would have really, pushed to try to change this vote if push came to shove.
But that may have radicalized them also when they saw that they lost Georgia. That may have did something to a lot of those people too. The change, that shows.
Oh yeah, because it shows it wasn't just an election day fluke. Because traditionally, runoffs, those don't favor black people.
Yeah, to send the actual far left Jewish guy to the Senate, and then to send a
black
theologian preacher that's basically preaching black theology. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. And that's very tough.
I would basically say Fox is trying to run for cover, and play this thing off like some of the corporations and stuff are doing right now that supported 45, and everyone's trying to distance themselves for good reason. I mean, this is a pretty tough situation that people are going to have to deal with. The reverberations of this are going to go down for quite some time. So folks are trying to position themselves and play a little bit of the longer game. They do understand at this stage again they have to move away from Trump. They have to do so.
Yeah. Well, you saw what happened with Sadel. What's his name? Adelson just died. So one of Trump's biggest donors is gone, and the Koch brothers, one died, but the other one saying it was his biggest mistake. So they're gonna the money people are saying that this game is no longer a game. This is real problems going to come up from this thing.
Deutsche Bank, one of the biggest banks out here, investment banks especially, basically back away from Trump. They said they're not going to go with him with any more of investment, so they're not going to put any more money behind him. And I think we're going to start seeing some other financial institutions really start to play hardball in this way. So the money also is going to start to dry up. So this is a tough situation for this guy. This was a very bad move that he has made, and all of the corporate news outlets and so forth, especially the far right ones who played a huge role in really propping this guy up, are now running for cover, which I find very interesting.
Yeah. The big thing is this: the fact that this happened in D.C. You have arguably probably the most powerful city in the world as far as just who's there, the number of officials, diplomats, prominent business people, foreign leaders that come, and you can't have even a doubt about the security of a city like that. And I mean, this just blew the door wide open. It's like, can you really trust the police that you have assigned to you when something like this can happen? And you have people who are literally, who literally were one police officer away from the speaker's chamber.
Mm-hmm. Well, and once, and they had blueprints of the actual Capitol. They knew where they were going.
Yes, they did.
That's the thing that they're finding out. They knew where they were going. And now everybody, if you even look at that article, Chuck Norris is trying to deny that he wasn't there. It's so funny. Everybody's trying to say, like, now the shit got serious. I wasn't there,
Yeah, because I don't even know if we'll see how the full investigative report, just because it may be too embarrassing and too implicating to say this is how much information people were able to organize and gain.
Was Chuck Norris there?
That's what it appears to be, but he's saying he's denying he wasn't. He's trying to deny he wasn't. And then, but they forgot, they made one mistake. They were using Parler to organize. So there was and they said the security researchers broke in and downloaded the entire list of all the users. Just a matter of doing a little traffic analysis, and you can figure out exactly where everybody was at and who was there. And these guys are toast.
No, they've already lifted the data points from the cell phone towers. Like I had called that the same day on MOT's live stream that they're going to go after everybody who was there, whether or not you were in the building or not.
I got that, but I'm just saying there's security researchers did another thing. They actually stole the list of all the users and match them up with their real names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's because a lot of people use pseudonyms. So they actually went in there and took the list from Parler of all these guys and gals. Don't let me not leave the gals out, because there was a
Yeah.
There's a lot of women. Absolutely.
a captain in the army. She was out there, and then they found that she was already going to get a dishonorable, and they kicked her out just then when they found out that she already did that. They gave her a dishonorable right on the spot.
Well, Black Torch was
she was live streaming her whole trip while she was driving. She was on Instagram. She was on Instagram. I saw it. She was on Instagram.
now Black Torch was are they saying Chuck Norris was actually in the Capitol or just at the rally?
All I know, the first report says Chuck Norris was there, and now he's saying it wasn't his, just somebody that looked like him. I don't know. I don't know.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, and just like Clarence Thomas' wife, she's toast, because now everybody's gonna look at him like with a side eye.
His wife was there.
Yeah. She went up and gave a speech to gin up the people.
Yeah.
Oh, Thomas is toast. Damn.
How? Just a quick question for you guys. How many of you guys think that, as far as that audience was concerned, how many do you think were actually former military or former police officers that was actually part of the actual rally? What percentage would y'all give it?
I would say 1/3.
I would say that too.
Yeah.
Close to 30, 30 to 35.
And I don't think they were, a lot of them were former. I think a lot of them were active duty police.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of them are active, because New York City is investigating a whole lot of them that went down there.
Yeah, I think that's what they're finding out. I think that's exactly what they're finding out, that a lot of these people are connected to law enforcement agencies, literally.
Yep. Well, they're calling that out. They had the general on. Had the lieutenant general on, Brother Honore.
It's embarrassing.
He came on the other night. And said it, called it out. Yeah. And that's why they tried to play him off. They wanted him off of NBC for a second. They wanted to shut him down because he was like, there was complicity. They were complicit with not only the politicians, but with some of the other agencies.
They were in military fatigues. Some of those were actually in military fatigues, actually in the Capitol.
But you have to understand, this is a lieutenant general who has sat back and has dealt with these types of incidents. I mean, with these types of situations. Right. He's had detail to do security around the Capitol and inaugurations and all this kind of stuff. So he knows the protocol on this. He knew it, and he started calling it out. That was bad. When you got a United States general, lieutenant general, retired, but still knowing the protocol, speaking out on this. This is very bad, very bad.
And you notice that the National Guards that they sent to D.C. are not from the South. They're all from the northern states. They don't trust them. They're not trusting them at all. New Jersey and New York send troops down there. They're not trusting these guys at all.
Yeah, that guy who was.
They don't even want to send people from Pennsylvania down there. They don't even want to send the Pennsylvania state troopers down there because of that. Because they're closely tied to these white nationalist groups, especially in the Poconos and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly add that guy who was in the Capitol with the zip ties. The way they actually identified him was the vest he was wearing. It had patches, and it was actually patches from his divisions, and that's how they were able to say, "Oh, so he's retired Air Force or ex-Air Force, but he was in this division," and they narrowed it down that way. They had one of the guys with the companies on TV interviewing and saying that's how we figured out his identity. So yeah, you're right about the military piece.
And this was no kid. This was not some little kid.
No,
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying they're all seasoned people. That's why there should be a policy in place. If you're not active duty or reserve, man, you can't wear a military uniform out in these streets like that at protest.
Right.
Because you can't wear a police uniform, and because it's against the law too, right? I mean, you're impersonating a police officer, but somehow you're not impersonating military. I don't understand these people who pump up the military and say, thank you for serving my country. Well, yeah, serving your country, that's what they got in the Capitol, right? They wanted small government, and they chased all these people out and got it so small that these people are in bunkers somewhere.
I think in New York City, if you were a former police officer, where you still have your badge and uniform, and you retired, I believe you can march in these parades and that kind of thing with the uniform on. I do believe you can do that. I'm not sure. I don't know if we have any NYPD people here in the chat who might be able to.
No, my cousin is one, and you can keep your badge and you keep your uniform, you keep
yeah,
everything.
You certainly can because one of my cousins, she's married to a NYPD police officer, and I know a lot of them in my gym. I'm friends with many of them. But I do believe that you can wear your uniform. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'm not entirely sure. But I think you can. But anyway,
MOT, do you like drive around in your uniform and just like strut the streets with like your members only jacket? What happened? You ever feel like that? One of those days you just wake up and like, I'm just gonna put this uniform on, man.
That's crazy.
You mean your dress uniform or your battle dress uniform?
Now, I know some barbershops, I know around here, some barbershops, if you're active duty or reserve and you have a uniform on, you're a first responder, you get a free haircut like on Tuesday or something like that. But these guys, came in here full-fledged uniforms and no one questioned it, man. And you can't tell the difference between National Guard and some of these guys who are perpetrators. You can't really, because they blend in. Look at Kyle Rittenhouse. You have active duty police and National Guard out there and some kid on the AR-15 and no one blinks.
He walked by police. They let him walk by.
And he walked by a bunch of them, and nobody said a thing to him.
Yes. Same thing in Richmond with these Boogaloo boys. No gun zone. Plenty of signs everywhere, and these guys just march right through, uniforms and all, hopping over stairs and balconies and banisters and stuff like that, and police just sit by and do nothing. So why would anybody trust law enforcement to do anything for the Capitol?
Yeah.
They had elderly grandmothers out there on the actual breach. Like there was one part where I saw where they had to move this lady. This lady had to be like close. If she wasn't in her 80s, she had to be close to being in her 80s. They literally had to move her out the way. Like that's how crazy this is.
Yeah,
she's right there at the breach, and I mean, this was like this lady looked like she can barely walk, and I'm like, what is this woman doing right here when people are turning up like this?
How did she get there?
Because she got there like how they all got there. They were enabled. The police were helping them up the steps.
I know. That's my point. That's my point.
They were helping them up the steps.
And the only resistance was the black police officers. And I'm like, trying to
did you see the black police officer that they're giving credit for saving the senators, because he lured all those guys. He was the same guy fending those guys off with the baton on the steps, and he had the guys follow him away from the Senate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That shit was crazy.
And they said, well, he should have been shooting people. I was like, if he started shooting people, they might have run over to the other side and gone right to the Senate.
He would have got no protection. He would have died.
He was smart doing that. I mean, he had good presence of mind. Good presence of mind.
Yeah, it's
the thing they were saying that it seems like you couldn't trust the white officers.
Right.
That's what they're saying. That's what they don't want to say, but it looks like they're saying you can't trust the white officers.
They were having conversations like side by side, like when it was when the lady got shot, there were police officers right there. There were like 3 of them right there that they were actually talking to. They were right in front of them at first. I don't know if I'm saying something I probably shouldn't be saying, but there were 3 people that was right there at the actual door before they can get to the gallery, right? Mm-hmm. 3 police officers. They were standing right there. And these guys were talking to him. Hey, look, we're not trying to hear for you. We just trying to, and then they moved to the side. And then that's how that happened. That's how the whole situation happened. They moved to the side, and then they allowed them to break that window, and then that lady jumped through, and the security service did what they were supposed to do.
And then she kept knocking on the door where Nancy Pelosi was, and then they blew her neck out, and and the rest was history. But at the end of the day, they were letting these people. The problem was they were letting these people roll in there like that, and they didn't have all their staff. 2,500 people they supposed to have. They only had 500 working that day. Just too many questions, just too much stuff going down.
You know what's so ironic? You know what's so ironic about this whole thing? The people that do not get the rights or the due process the most were the only people defending this country at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a black Secret Service guy that shot that lady.
Not to mention, there's a video of the black men after this is all
Doesn't
over.
make any sense, man.
You see black men sweeping up all the trash and debris, cleaning it up so the Capitol can look nice again. It's like there's so much irony in all this.
We classically save this country. But anyway, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I thought the FBI would have came in and did a full investigation. I didn't think they should have cleaned up anything. I should have let everything on the floor and let these guys do their investigation, get all the DNA that they did.
They were definitely sweeping up.
They left a lot of DNA around. I tell you that. They sure did do that.
Yep, and all those guys are so stupid because 23andMe and all these other databases that they got access to, they might not get you, but they'll get your cousin because you got some of the DNA, and then they'll just follow that. It's just totally ridiculous, man.
Yeah, the thing that'll be interesting too will be, I believe it's Dick Durbin is he's on a committee to really look into have these law enforcement and military really tried to crack down on these white supremacist groups that have infiltrated the organization, and that investigation is going to get a lot of scrutiny, I bet, now once the dust settles and they see how involved law enforcement was in this and people in the crowd. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny on that committee and that whatever comes out of that report.
I think the problem is too deep. It's going on for too long. It's going on for well over 150 years.
That's
true.
It's
going on too long. It's too deep.
Yeah, we didn't deal with it in 1865. It's been too long now.
We didn't deal with it then. We never dealt with it. And remember, fellows, never forget this.
Yeah, when they left in 1877,
we venerated the insurrectionists.
Yeah.
The original insurrectionists.
Yeah, we did.
We venerated them.
Allowing them to fly those Nazi flags and allowing them to have statues down south. All of that, allowing them to keep that history.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But the problem is now they fucking with the money.
Yes.
And when you fuck with these people's money, it's on. Nagone, what happened to the US dollar and Bitcoin when this shit was going down?
Shit was going down. And,
and what the Bitcoin went up to 40,000 just like that in 2 days.
Quick.
You cannot. These people are not going to allow you to fuck with their money. They're not going to allow that shit.
It's a management issue.
I was saying that yesterday. It's the money. You're gonna see how they fucking with the bread. But that's the big problem. That's why you see the corporations and all of it. Everybody's starting to back up now because they got to get around this mugger. They can't let this go. And and when we look at this geopolitically, if our fiat currency goes down, that's tremendous. That's a big part of the backing of our power. We can't have that happen. And so there's a lot of issues here. A lot of issues. Very serious. It's very serious business.
Well, when they dealt with the movement in the 80s, they were willing to drop a bomb on a house and flood these people and drown them in their own house.
With children.
Yeah, with children in there.
With a black mayor who did it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, you knew where that pressure came from. You already know. What was the mayor's name in Philadelphia that was highly problematic? I forgot his name.
Good. That was his last name.
Yeah, he was very, very
well.
He held the power in that city, basically, not the mayor. Go ahead.
And let me tell you something. I'm just trying to tell you, they kill a whole bunch of white people at Waco and all these other things. Don't get it twisted. They don't give a shit about nobody. You fuck with their money, they will come and get you.
Well, what I'm saying is the police response, the initial police response.
That's right,
radically different. Waco is an offshoot of something different. I'm saying normal police response is to go in there and drown these people.
That's right.
Drown women and children, violating the human rights of these people while absolving, the human rights of these people storming the Capitol. If you read the right-wing outlets, Peter Laval said that this white woman, she was innocent and that the officer should be brought to charges. You don't even want to charge the guy in Minnesota, but you want to charge this guy in the Capitol. Absurd.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Man.
Malcolm Gladwell was doing an interview on, and he was saying that when you saw the Secret Service surrounding the House Speaker and the Vice President with weapons drawn, he was wondering why you didn't have like an all points bulletin put out to like all federal officials, law enforcement, at least in that area, just that, hey, this is serious, that the House Speaker and the Vice President are under threat. You need to come and support.
They're at risk.
If it were, it should have been like a movie. It should have been, nobody should have been allowed to leave, and a dragnet would have been put up, and they would have got everybody's name, number, the fingerprints, and buses just roll up to wheel them out of there. That's what should have happened.
They had control over the MRAPs. They had Trump flags on the MRAPs, Confederate flags on the MRAPs. Unthinkable that something like that could even happen. That they can't even, that the law enforcement can't even get to their own vehicles because these guys are occupying it.
Well, occupying or they let them use it.
If these were black people up in there like that, what do you guys think would have been the situation?
Oh man.
Well, there was black men up in there, in this space they delete
You
their
already know, bro. You already know.
You shoot. No, they had another one on the internet yesterday talking about, I'm not worried. I was saying, like, really?
Okay.
Yeah. I said, okay. When they come for you, they coming for you. And you ain't no white dude. When they come for you, they coming with guns blazing.
Yeah, the full extent of the law. Yeah.
Any brother that was there, running up or close, you were going to have a conversation.
Yeah, just stick your hands in the air when they come through the door, man. Don't reach. Don't reach for nothing.
They're going to be a conversation.
That's my advice to you.
Remember, you got to remember. Remember Ted Nugent when he was threatening Obama and he made all those comments, and they went and they came and visited him and talked to him about that shit. These guys were standing up there with a news talking about we're gonna kill him.
No, but you impeding on my freedom of speech. I got the right to say whatever I want to say.
No. When they came down on Ted Nugent, you didn't hear much after him after that anymore.
Right.
He was dead silent because they were like, Ted, keep talking like this, and we're gonna split your fucking wig. Pardon my expression. Right. That's what we're gonna do to him, and he knew it. So, so what happened here, gentlemen? Like I said, the fallout on this is going to be a long time. This is very serious, man.
It's a case study for the next 100 years in every college university.
It will be.
Failure of leadership. When you start talking about security, you could even argue the fact that it took so long for the response, in the sense of, people were saying they had to have authorization, and MOT, you can jump in and correct me, but if your capital is under siege, isn't that the time to break rank and ask for forgiveness later?
No, the answer is still no.
Really? Wow.
The answer is still no, and this is why those people knew that, because if he would have did that automatically and they would have went on scene, that guy just would have disappeared from the ranks.
Right.
Because nobody goes and protect military personnel whenever the commander in chief says you got to go. No matter what it is, no one ever does that. And
okay, gotcha.
The fact that he did do that, because the Secretary of the Army isn't even supposed to be in the chain of command like that.
Yeah, and that's why I was surprised that they released troops, the National Guard, Hogan did, even though he received it from the Secretary of the Army and not the president.
It was not protocol, and it was Mike Pence, the vice president, who had to call him in. The president didn't say a word on this. It was crazy.
See, the real deal is because DC is not a state, or it would have been the governor could have released the National Guard. That's the real reason.
Yeah, you don't have
that quasi. Yeah, it's that good, and I think they gotta seal that up. And DC is a funny thing. You really can't. It has laws, but yet it's been superseded by the federal government. And
we are a territory that's owned and authorized through all federal agencies and government.
Well, DC, I was going to quickly say that may change after this. They were already talking about statehood, and this may be another reason why.
The statehood conversation for DC has been going on for the last 50 years.
Yeah, I was about to say that. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they won't actually make it a state.
Yeah, it's an old conversation.
Yeah.
Well, they'll make it a state if it was all white people. It would be a state then.
Technically, no, that's not true either. But there's a lot of reasons why they're not going to make DC an actual state. They may up it into an actual protected territory where they may have like an executive, like something like a quasi governor. They may create another position, but to create a whole cabinet in another part of the capital and stuff like that, they're not going to do that. They're not
because Jesse Jackson and them were trying very hard to get this stuff.
And it might mess up the flag with 51 stars instead of 50.
No, it's a whole host of issues.
A joke. That was a bad joke.
I got you, but Alexandria, Arlington used to be a part of DC initially. Some parts of PG County. When they annexed and they decided not to actually be a part of the actual city itself, that's when they decided to just make it a territory.
Well, I think you possibly can. It all depends on how much political movement you really get to go there. Because remember, that DC area is bigger than a good 6 or 7 states in the union. So
the area is bigger, but the city.
No, we're talking about as far as population is concerned. So, you could easily make this a state. You could easily do it, but how that will work is another question. And I think I think it should be considered much heavier now than ever before. I really do believe that.
The only reason that I will push back on that is because I know ever since I've been born that's been on the table. And then once I got older and then people basically told me the reasons why it would never be to fruition, then I understood.
Well, what's the reason?
There are reasons.
What's the key reason that you've heard?
Well, the main reasons is that what do all states have? What do all states have? An actual government, right? An actual running government that's almost like a nation, pretty much.
Well, no. I mean, you have a city council. You have your.
But I'm saying outside of the student council. I mean, not student council. Outside of the city council and all that type of thing. Mm-hmm. If you make DC, the city of DC, Washington itself, a state, you're basically giving it sovereignty within an actual federal territory. That's going to cause issues. That I don't even. I mean, it's going to cause so many issues on so many levels. Like, who has jurisdiction at the end of the day? It's not like being somewhere like Annapolis, right, which is the capital of Maryland. It's not like the same thing as that, because clearly that is an actual state. They have their own. I
don't see that being a very, very, very big problem. I think that could easily be to be resolved. I don't see.
It's no way. There's no way they're going to do that, bro. Trust me on that.
I don't necessarily agree. I think it can happen. I think it can.
It's not a possibility to go and listen to what I'm saying, man.
No. I hear it.
Federal and state within that. It's too.
And I would say I don't fully agree with what you're saying.
Too small of an area to do that.
Go ahead, MOT. What are you saying? Go ahead, MOT.
Here's his Chuck Norris thing. Chuck Norris rep denies.
Share your screen.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Chuck Norris rep denies actor participated in deadly pro-Trump riot. Chuck Norris is more handsome than the lookalike. I guess this is it. What is wrong with you? Yeah. Come on, dude. Man, let's make that big.
That's Chuck right there, buddy.
That's definitely him. Come on.
What?
I'm sure. I was going to say, all you have to do is really figure out whoever that is in the picture to the right. Because I'm sure if he took that picture and posted on Twitter, he'd be like, yeah, Chuck Norris, me and him.
Okay. A Renaissance man. You want to know what's at the top of this picture?
Come on, man. Wow.
Oh, dude.
That's tough, man.
Is it timestamped too?
Doesn't look like it. So that could have been post-production.
No, there it is. Oh, okay. You don't know. Oh, okay. He didn't tweet it live if he did. Because I was going to say that would be a dead giveaway.
I'm going through the timeline now.
But that's the same. If he's got the same outfit on and he's live, then you got him right there on that.
I mean, they have the same teeth.
That's just him without makeup on. That's all. Yeah, he's old. Chuck Norris like in his 70s, if I'm not mistaken, right?
70s?
He's that old.
Nah, man.
He's in his 80s.
80s and 90s, man.
Well,
Yeah.
damn, he's old. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say,
somebody Google up his age. Somebody Google his age up.
Man, he's old.
All that Botox.
Born in 1940. That's what I think he was born, 1940.
So yeah, he's 80. Okay.
or I was going to say, MOT, an easy way to fix this too is see if any flights were booked under, his name or whatever he flies under the DC area.
Nah,
Trust me, they don't know, man. Dude, they don't. You Chuck Norris, man. They're going to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're gonna know for Chuck Norris. Yeah, they're gonna know.
Yeah, without no makeup on, that looks about right.
And with facial recognition technology they have now, they're gonna know that. That's him and I.
I mean, I guess he technically couldn't get charged because you don't have him any pictures of him going in the Capitol, but it's still a bad look to even be associated with it.
He probably didn't go in.
He said at the insurrection, not doing things at the. This is why I don't like the whole jumping to conclusion type thing, because you can really mess up somebody's life. When stuff circle the globe 3 or 4 times, you got dropped by all kinds of people, then all of a sudden the truth come out that you was there or you was just passing through, taking pictures with people.
Maybe he flew to DC to have a tea party.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, you saw Belichick today turn down Trump's Presidential Medal of Freedom, so people are distancing themselves from this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he sat on it for a while. That's what people saying. Well, he sat on it for a long time. Well, in the end, he came out and turned him down. So
yeah, I just go ahead, MOT.
No, I'm good.
All right. Yeah, I guess from this point on, man, what do you do with 73 million of these types of people around your country?
But this is my question. All 73 million, are they all going to come out here rapidly like this? Or
Nah.
That 73 million? Would you think?
I saw a poll. They basically said after Trump stormed the Capitol, 45% of Republicans said it was okay. So you basically got at least about half who are on record.
That's still a problem.
So, it's a problem. But I mean, it's definitely a problem. That 75 million is.
That's a good almost 35 to 40 million people that think it is okay.
Yeah,
but then they're far outnumbered by those who don't think it's okay. So they're far outnumbered. They're outnumbered by quite a bit.
Yeah, but those who don't think it's okay are not going to confront the ones who do think it's okay. Right? They're not going to come out there and do anything. Like these people who are all like, pro-American, pro-flag, and all this other stuff, and they can't stand Kaepernick because he took a knee and whatnot. They don't have anything to say about these people running up in the house.
No, they don't.
Nope. They don't have anything to say about that. They're not out there confronting those people. They'll confront Kaepernick though.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying, Mike. Some of these people on January 21st might be losing their mind and do something crazy.
There's going to be a lot of unemployed Mzungos running around this country in the next 2 or 3 weeks. A lot. It's mass unemployment.
Kamala gonna have to watch her detail for the first 100 days that they're in office. She's gonna have to really be careful about how
I think
and there are women too. A lot of people caught up into this. A lot of women.
Yeah, but a lot of Biden is getting his old detail back, and I bet you he'll bring back Obama's detail for Kamala, because they're trusted entities. The other ones, I wouldn't trust any of them.
Obama's in the administration, and trust me, they also gonna bring out their specialty crew. I'm talking about guys who were very efficient at doing certain types of things.
We're not going to talk about that. Yeah, don't talk about that, please.
I'm not expanding that at all.
He on the ledge.
Please don't do that.
Don't live on ledge.
Headed to the outer rim, DC.
I try to tell you, man.
Yeah, this is gonna get live. Gonna get live, fellas.
But I'm just gonna say one thing: the purge is beginning. That's all.
It has begun.
It's gonna be a dividing line. There's gonna probably be more scrutiny when people join these institutions now because they know that they have a problem. It is clear that there is an issue now.
Yeah.
If you never been
people connected to and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, okay, they're gonna put you in the chair. I don't know if you guys haven't been into into these agencies. They actually put you into a chair, and they got the camera on you. They checking your facial expressions. They checking your blinking. They checking your pulse. They got a thing around your chest to check your breathing. You know, they're gonna do a whole lot of that to these people.
And they let you sit there for a while first and stew for a minute.
I'm very familiar.
Oh yeah.
I'm very familiar.
So you know what I'm talking about, the chair, because you be like, damn.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's go to MOT.
Very familiar.
Go ahead, MOD.
All right. Talk radio owner threatened to fire hosts who dispute election results. Finally, this should have been what was happening the day after, not damn near a week after the actual things that happened in Washington. Media company that employs several right-wing talk radio hosts, including Marco Mann, Ben Shapiro, Dan Bongino, never heard of him, in a memo after the Trump riots on DC. Cumulus Media sent an internal memo to employees on Wednesday at the Atlanta-based company that owns 416 radio stations throughout the country, many using talk radio format with local and national right-wing personalities. They said Shapiro has not contested the results of the election, but everybody else has. We need to help induce national calm now. They said that in the memo. The company said they will not tolerate any suggestion that the election has not ended. The election has been resolved and there are no alternate acceptable paths. If you transgress this policy, you can expect separate from the company immediately. The move by Cumulus made shortly before Google, Apple, and Amazon ceased their hosting social media of the app Parler. Similar in form to Twitter and Parler, which became popular with users who chafed over the perceived censorship of right-wing views. All right, this is what this is about. This is about the advertisers associated with this company. The advertisers of the company told these people, look, you do anything else, man, we're just gonna pull the money. But these people knew what they were funding while they were funding it. So it's a little bit too late, but at the end of the day, they know what they were funding the entire time. And now you have One American News Network, Fox News, and now Newsmax TV, who's basically doing the same thing on TV that this one company is telling people that they are not to do on AM radio. Thoughts? Nago.
Spanish doctrine. Sorry, I don't know what else to say. I'm just, this is crazy. So I mean, you and I have talked about it already. That's all I got to say. Go ahead, guys. Who's next?
The next person next is Mike.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna complain about censorship, but you know, as long as you're not footing the bill, man, you got to play by the rules that the those who grease your palms say to do. So I'm just thinking here that media is going to change from this point going forward, and any sort of conspiracy theories or anything like that, man, that's inconsistent with the facts on the ground is going to be flagged, not just by media companies or by people, but by the advertisers. They're going to definitely pull ads and support from the platform. So
yeah, I agree. Renaissance man.
Yeah, no, the whole First Amendment argument just sort of falls on deaf ears in the sense of, it's no different than in states where they have open carry laws. You can't carry a gun into businesses if they say no. Businesses have the right to say, hey, we don't want to, be associated with this type of stuff. I don't see how anybody can really argue with them with the violence that has come out of this, the pending legal fallout that's going to happen both on the criminal and on the civil side. It's people washing their hands of the situation. Any smart business person is going to do this. So.
YouTube started pulling channels as well this week.
Oh, really? Just based on what support for, or
anybody who was at that event who uploaded content from that event, they pulled those channels, not just the content but the channels itself.
Oh wow, yeah. I'm surprised they pulled the content.
I actually heard that on what's his name news. The English. I heard that actually on another news channel that they were talking about what's happening on YouTube, and yeah. So this is actually hitting the news. This is pretty serious. They're going after a lot of channels. I don't know how YouTube is going to totally respond to all of this, but I think anything that comes up that you were there at this event or had any kind of play in that, not only are they going to be pulling your channel, but I personally think you're going to be. That's going to go into the government as well. That's what I'm generally thinking.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised they're pulling it this soon. In the sense of, I figured they would let people let people upload everything they had, use that as evidence, because Twitter and social media have been used to go identify people, and then deal with it at a later date. Start pulling down stuff, but one of these guys in the manosphere better be on alert.
Well, there's a lot of
one
people,
of these guys.
there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the space that decided that they were going to go down there. But what YouTube is doing, even though the channel may not be publicly available, they still have the content on their side.
That's right.
Yep.
So they work closely with law enforcement. In fact, I think they have a DHS person inside their organization. All of these social media companies have kind of like a joint operation framework in place. Facebook, they all get together. They all communicate with each other in terms of like dealing with each other. So
and they all link in with NSA and all. Yeah.
Wait, Mike, you said multiple people in this space went down there? I know one.
No, there was multiple.
Yeah, let's leave that alone, guys.
Wow.
This shit is radioactive. Let's leave that alone.
About this article.
Yeah, what I'm saying here is all these social media companies are now working with each other, like kind of like a NATO framework. Basically, they're all talking to each other in terms of, well, if this person logged into this account with this channel, more than likely they have the same channel name on different platforms, and they're just basically cascading the bans across multiple platforms.
Exactly.
All right, Torch, about this article. The radio owners threatening to fire people over the disputed election results finally.
Oh, well, that's normal. They got, like you said, they got the call from the guys who write the checks and so on, like Coke and all these guys, and said, nah, you got to cut this shit out. This is not acceptable anymore. There's a bunch of them that says they're not sending any money to anybody inciting violence, and that was the big heavy hitters. It's not like the coward ones that said we're not going to send it to both. No, they said they're not sending it to anyone who's exciting violence. So that's how it is.
All right, DC.
About the radio and the free speech deal. No, I mean, it didn't have to be this way. I mean, the liberties get taken away when people abuse them. And if you abuse free speech, just like anything else, and you invade somebody's physical person, whether it's under threat or whether you inciting somebody else to do something to somebody else and put harm on somebody else, then you're culpable. That's the reason why they have these laws in place now.
All right, no, you kind of low. I'm not sure why it kept trailing.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, yeah, all the way.
Yeah, I was just I was just saying that the reason why they got these laws in place is that you can't say things that's going to put somebody else in harm's way, whether third party or whether directly. It's just, if you do that, then they're going to have to actually create provisions to keep you from actually speaking or having a platform to speak on a larger level. That's my thoughts on that.
Fair enough. That's all the articles I got. Mike, you wanted to cover any articles?
I don't have anything that's relevant to this other than Sarah Palin has come back out in the woodwork, and I have no idea why. Who called her and who woke her up? And
wasn't she basically making excuses for these people?
Essentially, trying to pick up the slack on the right wing side.
Yeah, she after because she doesn't live in Alaska anymore. She's been sidelined. I believe she lives in Seattle, Washington. That's where I think she is now. And she's been basically, diminished. They did bring, I think Trump and them brought her out for a little bit to run around and look crazy. But yeah, she's going to try to revive herself. I think that's not a good look either. But anyway,
not a smart one either at this time. You got people running for the doors right now, and you walking in like, hey, I'm back.
Let her do it, man. Go ahead.
Well, I guess she can still see Alaska from her home. I mean, Russia from her home.
Might be a little harder maybe a little harder from the state of Washington, but oh boy.
Oh, I had one article. Put the one with Clarence Thomas's wife up there.
That's a problem.
I think we covered that earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, I wasn't here.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a problem.
Oh, yeah, that's a real problem.
Okay, but let's look at what Ms. Palin had to say on the 6th. Media, quit labeling DC protesters, conservatives, Republicans, Tea Partiers, or Trump supporters. Look into who these people are, who they choose, and apparent leaderless, insane swarm to create perception of condoned violence. Knock it off. What? Why do you think they went up there? All these people have already been identified in this photo, and look what type of hats they have on.
Yeah, the guy in the yellow, they identified him, I think, today, and they were saying he obviously Trumper, anti-COVID, was walking around in places saying he had a medical waiver to not wear a mask. So,
and he uses beard to catch all the bacteria. But I would say, about this woman who jumped through the window. She voted for Obama twice.
Did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she voted for Obama twice. So when people, a lot of the media people were saying, well, she's a right winger, but she's actually a part of that QAnon conspiracy theory thing, and she believes a lot of that stuff that was going on in 2016.
That's exactly right, Mike.
And a lot of the people who are at these protests are not necessarily conservative, but they're really out there in terms of their mindset.
Far right wing mindset.
Let's say that one more time, Hamilton.
It says the far right wing mindset. It doesn't matter about who your past is. All these disheveled people who are not secure in what they are, they're seeing something in this orange dude, man, and their brains popped.
Yeah.
It was a QAnon. That QAnon stuff is big as well. You have a QAnon congresswoman right now. So
I believe you got multiple ones.
Yeah, you got.
I believe
multiple.
There's MOT. There's one from Colorado. She's in the 5th district, I believe.
Yeah.
Junction, maybe.
Yeah. Grand Junction, man.
Yeah,
right in the middle of nowhere.
yeah. She's a QAnon supporter up in there. I can't remember what she. Oh, and then some Republicans said they wish they had brought their gun to DC on that date, and I was just like,
sure you do.
DC is the battleground, is the final battleground. But I'm saying going beyond DC in these flyover states and whatnot, I mean, you had people in Georgia talking about the governor of New York and the mayor of New York City as if they were residents of these states and cities, but in reality, they just don't like these people on the left. And so,
Yeah.
what I'm saying here is they may take it upon themselves to try and make some other moves because they can't get to DC, obviously, at this point. I mean, that's a no-go zone for them. But they may try other places. And I'm saying this is the, we have to pay attention to where the next shoe is going to drop, right? It's not so much at the Capitol, it's going to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called for violence in all 50 states on January 17th.
I mean,
you saw the FBI.
Yeah, no. You
Hello?
hit right hand. Go ahead, Torch. Finish up. Go ahead.
Yeah, they called for violence, and that's before they. I think that's why they unplugged Paula so quick, because now they called for violence of a violent overthrow from the 17th to the the 21st. So they plan to do something. That's why they sent the 15,000 troops down to DC, and New York City is also arming up. So I don't know, where they think they're going to get to, but
yeah, but they're arming up. But it wasn't that long ago, a few months ago during the summer, where they were beating up black men in the streets for not wearing masks and not social distancing and giving.
They were doing that.
That's right.
We showed it on the brain trust. It's a fact. It's a fact.
I don't get the response. See, this is the police response is too inconsistent to be taken seriously. We have a lot of people coming down there. Yeah, that's cool and all, but this has been forewarned. I mean, MOT and the Brain Trust in DC have been doing live streams on politics all year long on this.
Oh, too, yeah.
We had predicted this months ago that this was going to happen.
That's for sure.
Happen. So how is it possible that the best intelligence agencies couldn't figure this out?
You got. I was gonna say you got Trump lackeys at the top of some of these, really all of these organizations since he's been firing people. So
and
that's not helping.
It's just not lackeys.
Don't let him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah, okay.
I was going to quickly say, you got that going on, and actually going back to General Honore Nagone, he was saying really he was telling the Biden administration, really you don't need to pay too much attention to this inauguration. He's like, 1:00 on January 20th, whoever your acting people are need to go and get into the head of these agencies and kick these Trump people out. He's like, don't even wait till the next day.
He did say that. He did say that. He saw exactly when he called it out. And when I was going to say before, right after Mike, listen, we saw what happened in Michigan. Michigan, man, they ran up in there. This happened before this went on. They ran up in there and we're going to knock the governor out the box and do all kind of crazies. They're armed, armed on the state house floor. So they're looking to do this 50 statewide. I mean, this is happening.
I mean, they had protests in Denver. I'm like, Denver, why would they be protesting in Denver? I mean, they're doing well with the legalization of cannabis, money is booming, light rail train infrastructure being built. What could they be possibly protesting about in Denver?
Yeah, but it's not built in the area where they live.
Oh.
They live in Longmont and Greeley and, other places that people don't give a damn about because they voted for conservatives who don't care about anything except for not paying taxes. I'm like, oh, okay. No taxes, no infrastructure. A lot of these counties that you can't even sell marijuana in still refuse it. Crazy. So these people are traveling to go get this stuff anywhere.
Wait, it's not statewide?
No.
Oh wow, so you're losing money essentially. You're driving all the money that you have to Denver.
What's going on in the Denver metro area? But they're so caught up in who they are as people because they think if you have this substance, then we're not going to be as as homogenous if we allow this substance to come in. That type of stupidity. So it's like, look, man, these people are getting their infrastructure built off of this damn plant. And if you don't want to be down with that, then don't expect anything. So these people want only a specific type of government to work for them while it excludes other people. These are the people who come from like Grand Junction or Lyman or anywhere else within the state that don't have as much services as the Denver metro area.
Mhm.
These are the people who are mad and pissed off. It's not people in the defense industry who are conservatives. It's not those people.
And so instead of redressing their government, they come down to do what?
Stand up downtown and protest.
Unreal.
And,
Well,
and
we have the
MOT with
the
guns,
same.
right?
Go ahead, Nicole.
No, I said with guns, right? MOT with guns.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Yeah,
We have the
go
same thing to go on in New York. We got the 4 boroughs, and we got that Staten Island. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and Staten Island is just full of them, and they complain about everything. And we said, well, they said they got no industries. I said, but because you're Staten Island,
Do you remember? Do you
y'all
remember?
want to.
Do you remember Torch? Remember when Staten Island was trying to have a secession movement? They were trying to secede from the city. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Right
Yep.
when not when De Blasio, but this was back when Bloomberg was
No, it started under Giuliani.
started. But I'm saying they really tried to push a strong move underneath Bloomberg. They
Yeah.
really tried. And then Bloomberg froze them out. But yeah, these guys have been they were trying to secede from the city. They were trying to be their own. They were trying to be their own, almost like their own state. They were trying to make that move. They were trying to do that. Yes, they were. And Bloomberg was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna show you. Next time you guys have a real emergency, I'm gonna show you just how your secession move would have worked." And boy, they caught it rough. He gave it to them with both barrels. But yeah, it was
Well,
yeah,
we there was another group of them on the what they call it, the Irish Riviera, and from Brooklyn, Queens, where they had all those houses and they had the
Yeah.
private gates up, and you couldn't even get in there. The fire trucks couldn't even get in there. So guess what? Sandy hit. Nobody came and rescued them because you know what? They had that gate up, and you said, "Well, we're not part of the city." Guess what? The city said, "Okay, fuck you."
That's right. That's when Sandy hit Staten Island. And y'all really wanted to see? Well, this is what secession feels like. And they left them hanging for a bit. It was bad. But here you had these guys in the streets crying for Obama to come in there to save them. It was crazy.
All right. Gotta be able to get up out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming on. We got any last words, DC?
Yeah, man. Thanks for allowing me to come up, man. Appreciate it. Salute to you, brothers, man. Be safe out there. For people that may be in other states, if you are in a state that may have like large cities where there may be populations that are like highly democratic, I would suggest you to kind of be, to watch your to watch your back out there, because there may be some shenanigans that may go on outside of DC this time. We're going to have it here also, but there's going to clearly be some other issues going around the country. So just watch your back out there.
Hey, DC, what state are you in?
DC, man.
Oh, you are in DC.
Yeah, that's why I was basically talking to you about the city itself. That's where I'm from.
All right. Black Torch, in the last words.
Nah, again, thank you. Like I said, I live in Brooklyn. We're ready.
They'll never make it across the
let them come. That's all I have to say. Let them come.
All right, Renaissance man.
No, thank you as well. Everyone, like I think DC said it, be safe, because not just the next couple weeks, but well into the future till this stuff calms down, because you got a lot of people walking around out here who think somehow that the election was stolen from them, and they're gonna have a hard time seeing Biden in that office every day, and they might get triggered. So definitely be on guard for that, and keep an eye on Trump. He's trying to do the diplomatic thing today, trying to play to his base, but he might pull some more shenanigans before he gets out of office as well. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, and really 2021 to be honest with you. So.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Renaissance Man. Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, now go.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right. I want to thank everybody for coming through. If this is your first time watching the video, or maybe you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the actual channel. I want to thank you guys for coming through. This video was about listening to the tone-deaf press conference by the President of the United States, not really addressing anything that happened, but it was his first kind of outing since things did happen, since this went the way that he wanted, which was in and out. He's probably going to start doing these out of context Earth 2 type of press conferences as they go across the country. I want to thank you guys for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. Like, share, comment, subscribe.